Oh, sorry. Well, today's going to be a fun episode. We're going to actually install a toilet, but this toilet is in kind of a tight spot. So I'm going to try to do the best I can to film it, but I'm going to go ahead and film opening up the box, going through all the materials so that you kind of have an idea what you're up against if you're installing a toilet. Now, this particular toilet is new construction, so I'll be knocking out the little plug in the drain, and you won't see me taking the old toilet out. I'll try to do that again in a later video when I have that type situation come up. So let's get to it. So today we're going to be putting in a Delta Foundations toilet. This is the elongated version. You can get the round front. I like elongated. If there's men in the house, it tends to keep things a little bit more sanitized and clean. This is a lifetime toilet, and it also is a 12-inch offset. Now you can get these in 10-inch offsets as well. So you will need to measure back to where your flange is in the toilet, and I'll show you that in a second so that you have an idea, but that way you'll know which toilet you need to get. 99% of all toilets are going to have a 12-inch setback if it was put in correctly. Sometimes in a tight situation and there's just not much room plumbing wise or even room wise, you'll find a 10-inch. So you need to know 10 or 12, very important. Another thing you're gonna probably wanna do, every time I install a new toilet, I go ahead and install a new water line. Sometimes I will change the valve out as well. I like the quarter-turn valves, but you need to, what I generally do is shut the water off, take the old one with me and go up and match it, make sure I get the right one. Because they're all generally gonna be a 7/8 toilet inlet, but they're going to have different sizes as far as what goes to the wall. Like this one is a 3/8. Sometimes they're, I believe, 5/8, ½ inch, or they're different sizes. So make sure you take that with you. And they're also going to come in different lengths. I'd rather have a little extra length than not enough, because then obviously it isn't going to fit. Also, when you're cutting open a box, I wouldn't throw everything away because it gives you a lot of the information of what you're supposed to have. Wax ring should already come in the box, the new bolt system, and then both pieces if you're buying a complete kit. Now you can buy these separate and buy just the back if you need it, or you can buy just the base. Okay, first thing that I see right on the top is the paperwork. Which is all of your instructions. You can follow this step by step. Set those aside. And the next thing in line looks like it's going to be a tank. The cool thing you're going to find is these tanks should be, it is fully installed, like so. Everything is already inside and assembled, even the flange at the bottom, which is kind of nice. They went ahead and put your tie downs on so that you can't mess up, and you'll end up discarding this and putting your hose on. So I'll show you that up close. Next is the actual toilet itself. Actually, lift this off the side. So this will be the top. We'll set it aside. And now I should be able to pull the toilet out. Pull it out and move your box, just like so. This is going to be your wax ring, and this will be the seal that goes between the base and the top. Your little caps that cover up the little folding nuts when you put those on, they go on the side. And that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot to this. So everything looks good, no breakage, no cracks. Okay, so this is the area we're going to install it. They've already pre-installed some of their tile pieces so that the toilet can set up on top of it. And these are what actually are going to hold your bolts that hold the toilet. This is the knockout piece. You hit it with a hammer. It even has a picture of a hammer on it that shows you to hit it and knock it out. Now what I do is I hit it and knock it loose, try to be careful, make sure it doesn't go down the pipe. I mean, you can always pull it out, but it's better if not. Check everything here, looks like it's sealed pretty good. We're gonna seal the toilet itself. Now I'll take a level and put it on here and see how at a level I am. Now this one actually isn't too bad. We may need to come up just a little, but very little. We're barely touching the line, so that's usually about an eighth is what it looks like. So what you'll do is you'll either use washers to help lift that up. They have some shims you can buy at the big box stores that'll help you, and you can or you can makeshift. I'm going to use probably these little plastic pieces here because the plastic, they're not going to crack anything. You know, they're easy. I can cut them in two. Let's see about where that'll lay. That'll actually put us pretty much dead center where I need to be. Just one of those on each side here. The other thing you're going to want to do is I go ahead and put my line on so I'm not reaching back here fighting. And if you look, you don't necessarily need Teflon tape here. They have a plastic inside, or not plastic, a little rubber washer, which when you compress it, it compresses and locks in, keeps water out. If you want, you can go ahead and put a little bit of Teflon on it. See, this is a brand new one, so it's kind of stubborn. And the way you work Teflon always, I'm going to just put a small piece, but you always put it on in the direction that the nut turns. So in this case, it's going to be clockwise, always talking about. So you'll take your Teflon, like so, and you'll start it here. And I try to make sure I don't get the Teflon in the pipe. You don't want anything coming loose and clogging. And you just go around. Now the reason you go clockwise, and I think that's all I'm going to do, don't need a lot. The reason you do clockwise is if I put the nut on and say I had gone the other direction, when I start turning, the way the tape ends, it'll catch and unwind the tape. If I'm going clockwise and I put it on clockwise, it ends in the same direction. So when I put it on, it does not unwind the tape. And like I said, on this, it's probably unnecessary because you have a little gasket, rubber O-ring type fitting in there that will keep that from leaking. But I go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, maybe you can tell in this picture a little bit more of the hammers. You got 3 of them here. So we're going to pop this with the hammer. All right. So we have that out. And the other thing you want to double check is your off the wall. Now there's no trim here, so that's exactly what we want to see. And right now my 12 is going to put my bolt here and my bolt here. Now I could try to rotate a little, but if I rotate that to get that in, that's going to pull this out. So that's probably about right where it's going to have to be, is in these 2 spots. So it looks like it's just barely making it, which is perfect. That's also how you would kind of check on a toilet when you pull it out, which one you have. You can go to the wall, not trim with the actual wall, find your bolts, and see what measurement they are on. If they're on a 12, you're great, you have a 12-inch offset. If they're up here on 10, you've got to get a special toilet for the 10-inch offset. So that's really perfect though. All right, so that will work. Take the bolts and you put them in about where you're going to want them. And these are elongated bolts. Some flanges will allow you to turn and lock them in, some of them won't. This particular flange does not allow me to turn it, I just put it where I want it. Now what I do here, I have these little holders. Let's see if I can figure out the way these go. Push them on. Helps them kind of lock these down so they don't slide so much when you put the toilet down. Just like so. And what I'll do is try to prefigure these and get them close to where they're going to need to be. That's going to be a very nice little area there. Alright, right at the 12, and this one is going to be about right there. So that kind of locks them in close so they're not flying around so much, and now they're ready to actually put the, so some toilets I like to mount my ring on the actual toilet and just set the toilet down on it. This one I think I'm going to go ahead and set it on the flange itself. And you have this part which faces down, so the larger things go and hit it and it funnels down into the pipe, just like any other plumbing, like when you deal with water. So you're going to take it and set it like so. But you want to be gentle on this and line these up and set it down in one motion. That's that side, that's that side, and now we're on. So what you do here is you are going to push it down like so and make it straight. And what I like to do before I start tightening things up, there's two things I want to do. I want to check a level. And we'll try right here. That. It's a little tall. Let's try this again here. See where we are with one. I need to come up just a little to get it perfect. This is where the wedges help because those wedges are sloped. I'm going to try this because it does have a little bit of an angle. And that's pretty much perfect right there. Okay, so this will go up here. These, what you do is, these are the caps that cover the bolts to make it look nice. These go on first so that when you tighten down, you do not crack your porcelain. So we're going to take these and put them on, get them right where they need to be. Just like so. And tell you one thing you might want to do to save yourself some aggravation is make sure nothing can go down this thing. Put you a little something here to block it. You can do the same up there. That's why I threw that up there. And now we take the two pieces we set aside earlier and we're going to tighten it down. And you notice these are basically finger tight. You can tighten a little bit with a pair of channel locks or adjustable open-end wrench, but you want to make sure that you do not over tighten and break your porcelain. It's always the biggest thing when you're dealing with these is porcelain. And you don't crank one down by itself. You'll tilt it and then you'll have a hard time getting the other side. So you do it in increments. You'll start on one, you get the other one started, and you go back and forth. And then check your level again. So we are, there's that. Put our level back. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so here's our tank. Everything is pre-done, like we showed earlier. This is the bottom. Now this rubber piece here is going to fit onto this. So when you crank these nuts down, it's going to pull this. So what I generally do is I'll push this on. Sometimes you can, if you have a little tray, you can even wet this a little before you do it. This one goes pretty easily. So make sure it's on good. That bottom wasn't going to hurt it click. So just like so, take these nuts off, just like you did on the base. Now every one of these are different. A lot of these tanks, you have to actually put this bolt system in and you'll have a little rubber washer on the inside that you have to put on first. So when you crank this down, it pulls those washers together so it doesn't drip. A lot of times if you don't get those right and get them even, your leak you're going to find is right here. I like the fact that this particular model, it's already installed and it's very tight. So I don't have to worry about a leak there. What I have to worry about is getting it pulled down nice and even so you do not leak around here. And of course this is where your hose is going to set. They have this again for a flange, so we can remove this. We don't need this. And let's go ahead and put it on. So all we do here is simply line everything up. Just like so. And it looks like it's going to be perfect right there. We're going to do the same thing. You put one nut on one side, one on the other, and then you tighten back and forth. Okay. Now you'll take and same thing as the other side, it has a washer already in it, and it's going to be plastic. I generally won't put any Teflon here. And we're going to attach. Usually finger tight is good with that. I'll test it just to see, make sure I don't have a leak. Let her fill up. So after you test it, you fill it with the water, make sure there's a line in the back, make sure you're up to that line. First thing I want to do is look and see if I have any drips. And everything is feeling very dry. Checking my hands. I'm going to go ahead and do a test flush. Everything is still looking good. If you're doing this for someone else, you want to make double sure you have no drips, because it sucks to drive back across town for a little drip. But that's looking decent. So the next things you're going to do, the easy one, of course, is going to be on your tank lid. So we're going to open it up, set that, and get it out of the way. Left my little knife in the other room, so let's tear it loose. There we go. And I always set this aside good big. Be very careful with it, because you'll end up replacing the whole tank if you break this part. Now, part of that 12-inch off, you want to make sure this one was slightly more, which is kind of good because it gives us a little bit more room in the back where this is off the wall. But a lot of times they'll be directly on the wall, and it can be a hard fit. And this is the seat. This should be a soft close seat, which means it'll close on its own really easily without slamming. Great if you've got teenagers in the house or adults who are prone to being a little bit rough. So you will take and open these up. Now I see the little indent on it right here where you can actually put your finger and open. So it's going to set like that. Now we have these. That's pretty simple. You can see how it goes. They have it in the right order for you already. So you're going to place this down inside of those big holes, the openings. This will come from the bottom side and go up in the porcelain so that it can't break. And then you have a little rubber or a little plastic washer, and then your nut. So we take it, place it inside, place it in the opening or the little hole. Let's not drop that in the toilet. Put the rubber piece on first. If I can get that in there. There we go. Just like that. Now the washer and the nut. Washer is going to go like that. Now the thing you want to do here is, see, I don't want to tighten it like that because see how I'm off? You want to get it about where it's going to go and then start tightening. And you do the same thing here. You do with everything else. Tighten one side a little and then tighten the other side. Now this does have a spot to use a screwdriver to get it really snug. So we'll probably grab a screwdriver to go ahead and tighten it down just a little more. And I'm actually a little crooked. I want it right there. Let's go ahead and tighten a little tighter. Just enough so that it isn't going to be coming off every time you turn around. That's pretty snug. And you snap the lid down just like so. Okay, there's the little caps. Now sometimes you have to cut those off, and some of the actual bolts are made long, and you'll see a little flat area on them where you can saw them off. I use a multi-tool with a steel bit a lot, works pretty easy. So at this point, these just clip on, just like so, very simple. The toilet itself is now done. There's your slow close. The only thing I have left to do is I'm going to trim off with my multi-tool the little plastic pieces that came out the side to get it even, and we're going to run a bead of caulk. Now you notice they didn't get enough of the tile here, but this is a stick-on tile, so they'll just have to cut the pieces up to it. I'm going to go ahead and caulk it to protect this and make sure it isn't moving. Okay, got the tools and the caulk. Basically, you just need a wet towel because we're going to use paintable caulk. You really don't need to use silicone here at the tub or at the toilet. You can, but I think it looks nasty and it's overkill. You don't really need it, so you just want to use that. This is the Alex brand that you get at like Home Depot. I think Lowe's even carries. A lot of people carry this one. It's very popular. Made by DAP. And then, of course, you need the caulk gun. And here is my multi-tool, my DeWalt multi-tool. If you don't have one of these, whether it's DeWalt, Milwaukee, whatever you buy, Craftsman, make sure you get one. I use this daily. It's a great tool. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the plastic off. That was my little wedges to bring the toilet level. We'll do that now. Here we go, cut loose. Sorry for the noise, but those things you can't avoid. Now, like I said, this being a vinyl stick-on, they can actually trim it to get it around the toilet correctly, so I'm not too worried about that. You usually don't have to puncture these caulks. This one was used, so it's about half full, so I'm going to see if there's anything in it, get it out of the way. Place it. And normally I cut a small tip. This tip's a little bit wider than normal because it was used to fill in some pretty big gaps on the outside of a house.
Well, there you go. Not all that difficult to install a toilet. You can follow the instructions. You can also go back and look at this video, make sure that you're hitting all the steps. If you got something out of today's video, be sure you hit that like button. It really helps my channel. And be sure you subscribe if you haven't. Be sure you ring that little bell notification so you know about all the videos as I release them in the future. I do appreciate you watching and hope to see you next time.